Hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? Reading the new Ahsoka kit, I guess. We have an interesting background going on here. I'm currently in my quarantine hotel. Not a bad hotel, but the lighting from this window is a little bit weird. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about Max Banner teams and the ones that have a great chance of success, a very, very high chance of success. We'll see on swgoh.gg now. They're having some issues recently with their infrastructure that should mostly be fixed. So we should be able to look up a lot of this stuff. We'll look up 3v3 and 5v5. But let's talk about the teams. By the way, anybody has any questions or whatever, just feel free to let me know. We're going to talk about the teams and look at them both from a 3v3 and 5v5 perspective, but we'll look at those options for each of the teams because it's mostly having to do with the leadership abilities that give you max banners. And we'll look at them in terms of, is it often a team that can be used for max banners? As in, you're often going to be guaranteed a win for max banners, or if it's a team or a character that oftentimes you'll need to use, like Thrawn, for instance. You rarely use him in a max banner team because you need him to hit up a little bit. How is the stream actually going? Shows no data. I don't know if I'm actually, oh no, it says excellent connection there. Looks okay. All right. Strange. Showed no data on my side for a second. Anyway, so we'll see for each of the teams the likelihood that you'll use them in a max banner situation, or whether you will oftentimes need to save them for a difficult counter or something like that. So let's start with JKR lead. I would say this is 50% of the time you can get max banners, otherwise will be used for difficult counters. Everyone knows JKR. Yeah, any comments, just let me know. If you disagree, that's perfect also. I'm going to go through the common ones at the beginning. Okay, cool. Thanks, Lab Monkey. I was seeing a weird notification in the YouTube dashboard. And since I'm streaming from a hotel here, which has pretty good data, I wasn't sure how it would go. Anyway, for some of these main teams, I'm not going to talk about the specific counters they can be used against until I get to some of the more... Okay, cool, Jonathan, thanks. Until I get to some of the more esoteric teams that aren't used as frequently. Troopers, almost always 60, almost always max banners. Because even in threes, Troopers is awesome. Veers, Piet, and Range, or Veers, Piet, and Dark, or Veers, Piet, and even Stark, depending on what your roster is like. They're always a good max banner team. Sith. So Troopers sometimes can not get you max banners if the last character you have to finish off is Nest. You can lose a character sometimes because if Nest takes one turn at the end of a SEE fight, she'll oftentimes one-shot one of your Troopers just because of the buffs that have been stacking her offense. Besides that, Boss, or what are they? BH. Almost always max banners. Sometimes against Beskar Mando. Or nest teams. So in the case of Bosk, the Bosk lead teams, you will generally have a higher chance of finishing with max banners because you get the additional defense from Bosk and max protection when you get 50% max protection from Bosk lead no matter what, and then you also get 100% defense when he is at full health. So it's very difficult for a Nest or some other character to one-shot anybody in the Bosk lead teams. For the Aura-led teams, you can hit up a lot more. Like there's more difficult teams you can take out. You do have quite good regeneration because Aura here, her leadership ability, which doesn't require Zeta or anything like that. Oh wait, it's her unique. Where's her regeneration? Yeah, reward. It's her contract. Once her contract is activated, which will be whenever you use her, because the Bosk Grief combo will activate her contract in the first 2 turns. Whenever an enemy is defeated, you get 25% protection in turn meter. So you should finish usually with 100% protection and health at the end of every Aura fight, but you may lose occasionally one character, depending on what team you go up against. So that's a little bit less sure than Bosk lead, but you can hit up a lot more. Another team that is very common, I'm trying to think, there's quite a few that are common. Let's actually talk about Arnold's favorite, Beskar Mando. To have the correct comp and turn order. So Beskar Mando, it's the Will of the Force, I think, his ability that equalizes everybody's protection. I think that's the name of it. And he can usually use it twice in each fight. He is one of the teams, though, where you'll oftentimes use him to hit up rather than looking for max banners. So any of like the sub... Hey, Tilo. Thanks for showing up, man. Any of the sub, like the B level teams, Beskar Mando will be able to take out for max banners very, very easily. But it's more difficult to get max banners unless you're experienced and you have the correct turn order against teams like CLS or General Grievous, because those are generally the 2 best teams to use Beskar Mando against. Like those are both difficult teams on defense, and besides using a GL, it's very hard to get high banners against them. Like for instance, against CLS, the comp is different than against Grievous. So CLS usually you'll use L3 and Nest in there, and your Quill should be at least half of the relic level of the CLS. So if the CLS is relic level 7, which most of them aren't, sorry, not CLS, Han. Half the relic level of Han. So if Han is level 7, your Quill should be at least relic level 4. Like 3 can also work, but 4 is better, just for the additional health if they target him first. Yeah, a lot of people don't have the team ready yet, Tilo. Beskar Mando is hard to unlock in general, and a lot of people give him shit because he's certainly not the most amazing journey character, but he is an awesome offensive character. Against GG, you should use, and a lot of people don't do this correctly yet, the best setup to get max banners and to have 0 RNG in the fight is using Bo-Katan and Nest, besides Beskar Mando Quill and IG-11. And you want to have Bo-Katan go first. She dispels all the buffs, stealth, and etc. Have Bo-Katan go, well, first you have Quill go, and then it'll be Beskar Mando to activate his Whistling Birds thing. And then Bo-Katan will do her AoE in Daze. And then Nest directly after Bo-Katan to do additional attempt on Daze and remove turn meter. And then at the very last, you'll actually have IG-11 to do his AoE. And at that point, then nobody should be more. The Grievous team may take a couple of turns. But B2 he better be dazed. It's very rare that he's not dazed after 2 people trying, and Bo-Katan has pretty good potency if you put a potency cross on her. Anyway, you're almost guaranteed to get 57 plus 58, and if you stall well enough on usually Magna and Newt, you can get to 60 banners at the second time that you use Will of the Force. Another much less common max point team is Carth. And you may be saying, what the fuck, Carth? Yeah, Vethan is awesome too. The thing is, he's not great to remove RNG. I'll answer you in a second, Lab Monkey, about IG-11. But Vethan is awesome. The problem is, if you don't have Bo-Katan at the correct speed level, then use Vethan for sure. He's great. The ability block especially is really nice. And they're good against against CLS you're not going to use either of those, but against Grievous, he's good to use because you can get ability block on Newt, which is really, really handy. But in general, Bo-Katan and Nest together are the best because you have 2 turn meter reducing or 1 turn meter reducing skill, 2 dazes. They're both AoEs. So Lab Monkey, I think initially everybody thinks, or many people think IG-11 is because that's how Clash initially set up his little, that's how he tested it out first. And that works. The problem is you're guaranteed a 90% chance that B2 is going to go. He's going to be triggered and he'll take a turn. And then he'll start, depending on what target locks he hits, and if Newt gets enough turn meter to use Extortion on, so B2 will be triggered, he'll do his Dispel, nobody will be taunting, and if Newt uses Extortion on Beskar Mando, it reduces offense by 25%, you're almost certainly not going to have enough damage to kill General Grievous. So you want to lead with a Daze. IG-11 is definitely not the good one to do. The advantage of having Bo now is that Bo will dispel everything. So she gets rid of the stealth, and she'll do a Daze, and then you have Nest go directly after her. I like a tanky Nest. I don't actually put potency on my Nest very much, but more effective really is a potency Nest. Then you'll do a potency Nest, and she will go directly after Bo-Katan and do another Daze, or she will try and daze the people that Bo-Katan missed. Although Bo-Katan, you can see here, her potency is quite good. So her, let's say she's Relic Tiller Tier 3 or something like that. Her potency is 68%, base potency with no mod. So you can get her over 100% potency with the cross and some secondaries very easily. She is not super fast, but getting her a little bit faster than, or a little bit slower than the armor is, or than Beskar Mando is not too difficult. But yeah, if you have Bo-Katan go first, she will usually then daze on at least 4 out of 5. And then you have Nest go again to try again for the second daze, and also push back to turn meter a little bit. And then finally IG-11 goes just for the AoE damage to maximize the Whistling Bird stacks. But the best in terms of reducing RNG is to have Bo-Katan go first. Obviously, I don't know, some people use Bo-Katan under, I think an armorer lead with Bo-Katan is another, well, that's one I'll mention later. That's another very good high banner team. But let's go back to Carth here. You're gonna say Carth, really? So Carth lead is actually amazing. Nobody uses him now because he's not that great in the current meta. But if you need 2, 3, or 4 more teams, the Carth lead is awesome. So his unique right here, every time an enemy is inflicted with the damage over time, not even when they take the damage over time, yeah, free, but when they're inflicted with the damage over time, and his unique right here, or you're going to get damage over time from primarily Canderous, but also from Carth's basic. You get 3% health and protection back each time somebody is inflicted. So if you assume a normal attack, there's going to be like 3. Canderous would usually attack 3 times, so that's 9% health and protection each time he attacks. This is definitely going to be a very, very useful team. I would say primarily on offense in the new format. And usually you're going to want him in 5v5. It's more difficult to get a good team for Carth in 3v3. (5v5) is much better because you can have Canvas and Mission. And Mission puts out enormous amounts of damage. So what can you actually use the Carth team against? So contrary to what many people think currently, where Carth is crap, well, he was crap when you're using him at G12 against teams with some G13s. Because as soon as you get rid of the taunt from Zalbar, there's not much you can do with the Carth team. So any team that dispels, as soon as Canderous is exposed or something like that, you're going to have a problem if those are killed off pretty quickly. But against, for instance, the Mother Talzin-led Night Sisters, this is a great team. Not against AV, because you probably won't take that many turns. It's not a fast team, and you don't have a lot of turn meter boost besides Canderous in this team. So against Mother Talzin lead teams, this is a great option. They have 2 dispels, one with Spirit and one with AV, Ventress. But this is an excellent team to use against Mother Talzin. That's probably the most powerful team that you can take out. But also against other like B teams, against Phasma. This is fantastic. Not against KRU, because it's going to heal KRU. Against Phasma, this is great. Against the Poe lead teams. Even now in 5v5, you see like Poe lead teams with leftover resistance. Yeah, use this. It's wonderful. There's really, the B teams, Carth is fantastic in taking out for max banners. So another one we're talking about is Armor plus Bo-Katan. Like, what the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. So we were looking earlier at Bo-Katan. The important part here is the Bo-Katan's Zeta unique. So obviously if you use Bo-Katan here, you're not going to use her in the Beskar Mando team. But at the start of the battle, they get 20% protection, but more importantly, the part that you're going to use here for max banners is 8% health and protection anytime a Mandalorian ally attacks out of turn. So we can go to the armor, and she has her, this is the way, on a 3-turn cooldown, so at least twice in a battle you can use this, where she calls all the other Mandalorian allies to assist. And you can actually use this team. I mean, I would use, by the way, I would use the armor as a leadership. So that's also strange. But her leader, Mandalorian allies, get 200% protection up and critical hit immunity. So, excuse me, this may seem strange at the current meta when you're going against CLS teams or Night Sisters or something like that. Well, Night Sisters even are great because you can't dispel the armor up. They'll try, but you cannot. You have time to get your damage abilities up and running and the assists going. And most importantly, you have time for the armor to take a second turn and put 3 ingots on your DPS character. So depending on what you want to use, we'll sort by Mandalorian here. Currently, the Mandalorians in the game, Django is a good fit to put in here, because unless you're using Django lead bounty hunters, Boba is a better fit in most of the bounty hunter teams, and Django is sort of free to go with separatists or Mandalorians. I don't think you're going to use the Mandalorian. I don't think you're going to use Beskar Mando. Sabine is a great fit. She puts out enormous damage. And depending on where you're using Ezra, you still have 5 in the Phoenix team, and you can split off Sabine. She's not required in there. She's the most fragile of the Phoenix also. And you could use Canderous if you wanted, if he's not in your Old Republic team. Really, this depends on your roster. You could use Gar. I would not use the Imperial Super Commando, but you certainly could. Gar is actually a bit nice, not just for his assisting. He's not going to assist much under this team because he assists when an Empire ally uses the basic. That's out his leadership. Oh, no, he will assist when another ally. Oh, he's going to be assisting a lot then. But the AoE, the calculated ambush, is quite... I'm not a big fan of Imperial Super Commando, but Gar, definitely I will be using my Gar in 5v5. No question. I will have a Mando team. Well, it's going to be the armor lead with Bo-Katan. Any of the B teams, for those people who put a lot on offense, and they don't put 4 GLs on defense, there's definitely going to be B teams where you can get 60 points with an armor lead with Bo-Katan. And the nice thing about that too, you have Carth, Beskar Mandalorian, and the Mandalorian team. Those 3 teams that share a lot of characters. So depending on what you're up against, you will actually be able to... Probably I'll use 2 of those 3 teams, depending on who I'm fighting. But they have different teams that they're good against. But anyway, I was saying here, the calculated ambush by Gar is quite nice. So you do physical damage, yeah, great. Double damage to people with less than 50% turn meter. This is not a high damaging skill. But anybody who has more than 50% turn meter lose 30% turn meter. And this is the main thing that the Mandalorian team suffers from, is turn meter manipulation. So for that reason, Gar is pretty good. He's, again, not a super fast character, but the armor lead team is very durable. So let me summarize this in text. Together, and BKK's, not Burger King, unique Zeta is required. Yeah, the turn meter is the main reason why you have Gar in the team. His constant assisting means he's extremely durable. All you have to do is build him for health protection and speed. Potency is nice. Putting a potency cross is good. But he's reasonably durable. Like if you put him to Relic 3 or something like that. Relic 4, I guess. According to matchmaking, Relic 4 is the best set. His base health and protection is 42k, which is not great, but not bad. His armor is relatively decent. His resistance is shit, but his armor is pretty good, 52%, with no mods or anything on him. So it's not hard to build him durable-ish. Sabine, Jango, etc. So really the most difficult part here is getting the DPS character and then the 3 stacks on them. I think either Sabine or Jango works fine. Jango is a bit more powerful. The problem is that his contract will not be activated because it's not a separatist leader. Well, did I forget? Did they change that? It can also be a Mandalorian leader. Let me check real quick. Contract. No, it's just separatist, not Mandalorian. So, anyway, he's still quite good without his. He just doesn't get the invulnerability at the beginning without his contract activation. But I would put Sabine or Jango in this team because he puts out a huge amount of damage. And Sabine is a very high damaging character too. Her Zeta is not required, but it boosts her damage a lot. And she gives offense up to the whole team with her AoE that can't be countered. So I would use Sabine or Jango as a DPS, but you need one of the two of them. So let's go to actually my favorite team out of all of these, Phoenix. Yeah, it's been a while since you've thought about using Phoenix, huh? Phoenix are awesome, especially if you use Ezra in the Phoenix team and you drop Sabine. I don't recall what Sabine's contribution to the Phoenix team was. Let's take a look. Let's see. It's unique, right? Critical chance and critical damage, yeah. Sabine, if you take her out of the Phoenix team, you're having Ezra in there. Ezra, Chopper, Zeb, Kanan, and Hera. Extremely durable, the entire team. You suffer from the, unless you have the Zetas, you suffer from the TM issue. And currently, Hera, yeah, pretty much free. Currently, Hera's special is, it doesn't work now like it used to. They changed it about 6 months ago. If an ally is stunned, Hera's special will not unstun them. It used to unstun them. So the only really AoE dispel you have is from Kanan. And he also gives the Foresight up that provides TM when it gets used on the targeted character only and Kanan. So you do have a lot of turn meter generation with the Zetas, and you have extreme durability. I don't know if anybody remembers. I think it's 10%. I know it's from, I think it's from Zeb actually, the leader. Yeah, so your turn meter is from Hera. Whenever a Phoenix uses a special, they'll get 20% turn meter if Hera is active, and if they're less than full health, they get 40% turn meter. And then you have Zeb, and his unique. He gets 50% protection at the start of his turn. If you're debuffed, you get 30%. So all of the characters will get this. So that's part of their regeneration. And the next one is from Kanan. And Kanan has 20% health regeneration whenever he gets a debuff. Again, that's the whole entire team that's going to get this with Hera active. So the Foresight thing is with his Zeta on total defense. Really low cooldown, 30% or 3 turns, and it can be reduced by Hera. So when each of the Foresights expire, Kanan gets 100% turn meter, and other allies get 50% turn meter. So he gives only 2 Foresight. So you can give it to like whatever, probably Chopper, who will be taunting. So with the Kanan Zeta, as long as you survive the initial salvo, and again, I think on offense is the best place to use Phoenix, unless you have the turn meter set just perfectly in great mods, and you're expecting to surprise somebody on defense, which you certainly can. I remember at the beginning of GAC over a year ago, with G12 Phoenix, you would definitely get holds now and then where people would underestimate them. But in general, I would say they're a better team on offense. you can control the... Yeah, TJ, Phoenix are great. They're great in fleet too. The rebel ships are really good. If we ever get 3 fleets, definitely be one of the best teams. Anyway, I would definitely save the Phoenix for offense. And you need to have... you don't need, but you're going to get literally 100% better performance if you have Kanan's Zeta. I think Ezra's Zeta is great for damage. Hera's Zeta is good, but not super amazing. Zeb's Zeta is just for damage. He does huge damage with his Zeta, but you don't necessarily need it. It just makes it faster. And Sabine's Zeta is, again, a huge Zeta for damage, but if you're taking her on the Mandalorian team, then it doesn't really apply to this. Exactly. That is the Jonathan. That's my next one. What do you mean Phoenix do better with X's? Not sure what you mean, TJ. So, the rest of the Zetas are primarily DPS focused. You use team on offense, hard to control TM, gain on defense. Oh, yeah, I do like using Ezra in Jedi teams in general, but that may change in 5v5 because I have a lot of Zeta Jedi, and Ezra is just there for damage. Like he doesn't fulfill a very clear role in any of the Jedi teams that I use him. I mean, he's there just to kill stuff. I like him under like JKL. That's another 60-point team that I haven't covered yet. Yeah, I think in my mind it's Kanan and Ezra that you can swap out interchangeably. Sabine is really just damage. The stagger certainly helps. Chopper is great. You could swap Chopper if you wanted. But I like swapping Sabine because you can put her with the Mandalorians. And she's very good there. So... yeah, that's actually a good point, TJ. It's true, Chopper is pretty quick. A very good point. I didn't mention that. That's excellent. Yeah, make Chopper the fastest character so we can start off with a dispel or a taunt. Excellent point. Yeah, and in the Phoenix team specifically, because once you start with Kanan's Zeta, you have a lot of TM. You'll be able to go faster than many other teams. But you have to play it on offense to get that benefit. Like basically swapping between Hera and Kanan back and forth, because Hera's special when you have the Zeta will reduce the cooldown of the ally when she uses it. So if you're using that on Kanan, like he can use his special usually every 2 turns. He's a really slow character, but with the TM that he's gaining from the expiration of the Foresight, he goes pretty quickly. But you have to start out well. So if you set up the turn order well, with Chopper fast, it's a great way to go. And again, you'll have to scout your teams carefully. Like the Phoenix against Night Sisters is awesome. Not against Ventress AV teams, but against the Mother Talzin teams, because you have so much regeneration. Even when Night Sisters go faster, and even when you can get stun locked and sort of screwed against AV, but against Talzin it's great. Against Carth, it's very good because you regain so much health from the DOTs that they're applying. Against so many of the other B teams. Let's talk about the Murder Bears. And then the last team I want to talk about besides this is Jedi Knight Luke. We're already 5 minutes over our half an hour. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Going with Chopper and Kanan back and forth too. Really depends on who you're fighting, whether you need taunt more or whether you want the damage more. Because with Hera's, like you can survive a lot more with Hera and Kanan flopping back and forth, and then it's just up to Zeb and Ezra or Sabine or whoever you're using to keep putting out the damage. Yeah, exactly. Same here, TJ. All right, so Murder Bears, the Ewoks. The Ewoks, I have to admit that my experience with the Ewoks, I have all of mine relicked, but I have not used them a ton, and they don't see them being used. I don't know if Amariel is in chat here, but he's the guy I've learned a lot from with the Ewoks. The Ewoks have the ability to kill even teams like JKR, but is extremely mod dependent. And comp dependent too, depending on who you're up against. In most comps, actually, and there's a great Discord server for Ewoks. I have a lot of good information there. In most comps, you actually want to use Scout instead of Elder, because sometimes you need Elder depending on which comps. Against JKR, you don't really need against JKR. But the Ewoks in general, if you go faster, which is not hard with Paplu, because he gains a huge amount of TM. I'll explain the team in general. So let's look for Paplu here first. He gains 25% TM at the beginning of his turn, yeah. So whenever he doesn't have taunt active, which will be at the beginning of the fight, he gains 25% TM. His base speed is 128. So you give him mods, he's going to have, let's say he gets 130 or so from mods. You probably want to give him a speed set. So it's going to let's say he gets up to 250 speed. And 25% of that gives you another 50 and 12. So 62. So he's going to have around 320 with good, not great mods. But basically he'll be able to go faster than any bounty hunters. Again, assuming you put the mods on him, be able to go faster than bounty hunters, than Night Sisters, than pretty much any B team. So that's one of the great advantages of the Murder Bears, is that you can go first, and once you start going, you'll probably not stop. The reason you want Scout is you call assists, and his basic, and you'll be doing a lot of basics, is a 55% chance to remove 50% turn meter. So once you start going, and if you're calling Scout to assist, when you have the ability to call an assist, Scout's going to be going a lot. He gains 30% turn meter whenever he evades or lands a critical hit, and he should be modded primarily for crit chance. Not very hard. Let's say you have him Relic 4, a sweet spot. No mods, he has 72% crit chance. So very easy to get him to 100% crit chance. And he should be taking a lot of turns, and his basic removing TM, it's awesome. He's really brutal. And your regeneration comes from, let's see if I remember correctly. I don't know if it's Chirpa. Honestly, I forget. I think it's Wicket that gives the regeneration. So, yeah. With his Zeta, whenever a Wicket scores a critical hit, all allies get 4% health and 2% protection. So basically, if he does his AoE, and he hits 5 people with crits, you're going to get 10% protection. Health you get from Logray, I think, with his Zeta. But the Ewoks are awesome against not just B teams, but some of the A teams if they go first. Not against DR. You can, but it's extremely difficult because as soon as they get a debuff, they get Frenzy. As soon as you crit Malik, you get Feared. It's not going to work against DR. But against some of the A teams, they're quite good. Again, I would say not against CLS. Against Beskar Mando can work. You have to go straight for Beskar Mando, though. Not against GG. His AoE and spells will decimate you. But against Night Sisters, you can definitely do it. I'm trying to think of the other big defensive teams. But you have to mod correctly on Paplu specifically. So modding is critical, particularly on Paplu for speed and CC on Scout. Yeah, but it's easy to get CC, crit chance on Scout. Don't expect to win unless they are modded like your opponent. So for the Murder Bears, while gear level is obviously important and speed is important, they're very much a what do you call it? Like a train team, a turn meter train team, and damage train team. So you have to have good mods on all of them. You have a lot of control as soon as Logray takes his turn and does his AoE Dispel and Daze. But you really, really need to make sure that you're not just putting 5E, 5A mods on them and plus 80 speed. Will not work. You have to give them good mods. Like matching your opponent's mods. Which is a little bit different than like the Phoenix, which is another sort of team that people aren't familiar with. If you have like a Chopper very fast, and good DPS mods on Zeb or Sabine or Ezra or something like that. Well, only on Zeb if you have the Zeta. You can use the Foresight to give yourself a lot of TM and gain TM from that more than necessarily really good mods. But for the Ewoks, you have to have really good mods. But and again, Ewoks are not my specialty for sure. But I'll certainly be using them in the new format. Last team I want to cover, because we're now 11 minutes over. Appreciate everybody watching. Hope you're learning something or getting some info. JKL. JKL I'm putting in here because he's an amazing 60-point team against a ton of teams. But oftentimes you'll use him under JML or JKR, I guess, because he hits up so well. You know, whether you're using to counter SLK. So he's one of the teams that, or one of the characters that you will not often use as a lead because he is part of other teams that you need him to kill, again, mostly GLs. But if you don't have a GL to kill with him, he's amazing. So not as common to use as leader because he is often used as part of other top tier teams. However, if lead... yeah, that's my fault though. There's just too many good teams. I guess I could prepare more, provide less information, but I don't know, it's sort of fun. If lead, okay. Must have fast character to go first. So, in my opinion, you need three characters to make this team awesome on offense, and the rest are very flexible. So, personal preference, you don't need relics for this. JKL is the leader, then a fast Jedi to go first, because you want JKL's speed to be low, obviously, because once he takes a turn, then he'll set the opponent's team, everybody to his speed. So you want him to be slow, and you want to give him some method of generating turn meter. Anyway, he'll use his, forget the name of the ability to stun everybody. So he gets one free turn, but you still want him to get some more turn meter. So Hermit Yoda and Shaq, the second member of the team, you can get them faster than most of your opponent's teams. Shaq is super fast, and in my opinion, she deserves like top 5 speed mods. She's great, and she's usable in more than just the JKL team. And then Hermit Yoda is another character that's great to have fast. I don't know top 5 speed mods, but top 10. Like let's say your Shock, assuming a relic, your Shock is going to be like 320 is quite reasonable. And then Hermit Yoda, you could have him like 315. I think my Shaq is pretty fast. She's like 340 or something like that. But that's very fast. Just a lot of her mods upgraded speed when I was slicing them at 6. So she's ended up with fast mods. So one fast character, and then Plo Koon. You're like, what? Plo Koon? Well, not only is Plo Koon, his ship, great in fleet. I don't know if you guys have seen a video by Bit Dynasty where I think you require a Relic 6 Plo Koon, but Plo Koon can actually go before Anakin's ETA-2 and guarantee you a first start and being able to force out. It's a way to force out Negotiator's buff spell instead of the AoE. Really curious and a cool, it's only offense, but a nice way to counter other Negotiator fleets. Anyway, putting that aside, I love Plo Koon because of his move that gives all Jedis 50% turn meter. So with Plo, Hermit Yoda or Shaq, and JKL, you will go first and be guaranteed a second and a third turn before the enemies move at all. So usually just with those 3, you can kill 2 or 3 opponents before anybody moves. TJ, you were saying, yeah, Ayla is awesome because she called an assist. 100% agreed. It's perfect timing. As I mentioned before, we're in quarantine and our food is arriving. Anyway, merci. Anyway, I love Ayla. I think she's awesome. I haven't tried John. I haven't tried QGGJ. I don't know why I can't say that correctly. Anyway, because mine's only G12, he's not relict. But Ezra is great too. The assists, the turn meter reduction, the bonus TM from his assists. Ezra is awesome in the JKL team. But in my opinion, you don't even need a relic Plo. Putting Plo in the team will give you a huge advantage in the opening moves to make sure you can kill 2 or 3 of the enemy characters before they get a chance to take a turn. Very useful for... Also, Plo's basic now is guaranteed to be a Dispel, which I think a lot of people have forgotten. And as well, I mean, JKL's basic Dispels and Shaq's basic Dispels. So it's very easy to get access to the characters you want to kill in the opening. You basically have 3 turns if you run Plo. You'll take 3 turns with JKL before anybody else takes a turn with Plo in the team. Just those 3. So you have a lot of options there to guarantee you can, in my preference using JKL is against Padme, even Padme with a Relic Barris. It's amazing. You can kill the whole team before they move. With 5 people, not 3. But you can use JKL against DR. I don't like using against DR. I don't use against DR so much because you're not going to get 60 banners. But against any team you outspeed, you'll be almost guaranteed to get 60 banners. CLS is also a good use of JKL, but you're not going to get 60 banners, probably 57, 58. Yeah, that's the last team I wanted to cover. I think these are the main teams to make sure you can get max banners. There's more than these teams, by the way. And like Empire teams with Thrawn, you can get 60 or 54 banners, but it's more like a character like Thrawn that makes that team great, not necessarily the leader. Unless you have the Zeta on Thrawn's leadership ability, which is rare. So JKR team, similar to JKL, you might not use him so often as the leader because he's used in other teams. Troopers, Bosk or Aura Lead Bounty Hunters, I think everybody's familiar with those. The less common ones, Beskar Lead Mando, or not Beskar Lead, Beskar Armor Mando. He's very good to get max banners with Will of the Force. And even against Grievous, you have a good chance of getting max banners if you have Bo-Katan. Carth, the Armor and Bo-Katan together, these are awesome. These are especially awesome at low gear levels, like Gear 8, Gear 9. You don't have to have these guys at Relic. I don't know who said it. I've heard Still Plays say it, and Ando, I think. But basically, Armor and Bo-Katan are effectively like a JKR team at lower gear levels. Extremely powerful and great regeneration. And very flexible in who you want to put in. Because everybody has Gar, right? No, but like you can add in a number of Mandalorian characters and get good banners. Phoenix, you need Zetas here and you need gear levels, and they're expensive. But I think there'll be plenty of G12 teams you can use them against in the new format. Ewoks are awesome, but mod dependent. You definitely need to have good mods. And JKL is really comp dependent more than anything else. But he's an awesome leader. And I think you'll be able to split him more in the new format. All right, that's basically all I have. Almost an hour, my goodness. Almost double the time that I intended. Any questions before I quit for the day? Thank you guys all for showing up. Thanks for the question. TJ, thanks for all the feedback. Very good point about making a Chopper fast in the Phoenix team. That's really good. I hadn't thought of that. Well, you can watch the replay, Matthew. Don't worry. It's not too long. It's almost an hour. I'll have timestamps in the next, by the end of day today, I'll put some timestamps in so you can skip through it more easily. All right, I'm going to go have my lunch now. It smells really good. Some sort of like Niçoise salad, I think.
Caesar.
Oh, Caesar salad. Wow. All right. Thanks very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, or for any Australians around here, the rest of your day. It's about lunchtime for you guys. And I hope everybody enjoyed reading Ahsoka's new kit, the new Ahsoka's kit. All right. Cheers. Talk to you guys later.